If you're watching this video, stop everything. This is not a coincidence. There's an ancient test created by an ancestral intelligence happening right now, and you are one of the few chosen to participate. Most people will skip this video, and by doing so, they will automatically fail, without even knowing they were being tested. But you didn't skip something inside you. A restlessness, a feeling that there's more to life, made you stop. That feeling is the first sign that you're ready for the next level. This test doesn't assess what you know, but who you are. And I'm going to give you the first key to passing it in this video. But I need to warn you, 99% of people who start this test fail. Not because it's difficult, but because they can't face the first challenge. The journey to passing this test and unlocking your true potential starts now. Stay with me until the end, because what I'm about to reveal could change how you see yourself forever. If you felt the calling, comment, "I accept the test." Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Think about your journey up to this moment, all the unanswered questions, all the nights you looked to the sky searching for meaning, all the feelings of not quite fitting into this world. None of it was in vain. Each of those experiences was preparing you, sharpening your perception so that you could hear this call when it came. You are not here to learn something new, but to remember something your soul already knows. An ancient truth that has been forgotten by most, but has remained alive within a few. The vast majority of humanity will continue their lives without ever realizing this invitation. They are immersed in the noise of the world, distracted by superficial concerns, unable to feel the deeper current that moves existence, but you felt it. And that is why you are here. This test is a privilege and a responsibility, intended only for those who are on the threshold of a great personal transformation. Those who are ready to leave behind the cocoon of their old identities and emerge into a new reality. To understand the magnitude of this test, we need to go back in time, to the sands of ancient Egypt, and talk about its architect, a legendary figure represented with the head of an ibis known as Thoth. He was not just a god in the Egyptian pantheon, he was considered the mind of the universe itself, the lord of wisdom, writing, and magic. Thoth was the great mediator, the bridge between the world of men and the world of the gods. The guide who led souls through the perilous journey in the afterlife. He was the divine scribe, recording everything that happened in the cosmos. Thoth did not judge souls based on their sins or worldly virtues. He possessed a much deeper vision. He understood that outward actions were merely a reflection of an inner state. What interested him was the truth engraved in the heart of each being, the purity of intention behind every choice. He knew that the true journey of transformation does not take place on the world's stage, but in the silent, labyrinthine corridors of the soul. And to guide the initiates on this journey, he left a map. Thoth is believed to be the author of knowledge so powerful that it had to be hidden from humanity for millennia, the famous Emerald Tablets. This is no ordinary book, but a set of keys, universal principles that describe how reality works. Teachings on how the mind creates the world we perceive, how what is within manifests without. This Hermetic knowledge was the basis of all Western mystery schools. A secret whispered from master to disciple, for they knew that in the wrong hands, this power could be dangerous. This test, therefore, is not about accumulating information about Thoth or ancient Egypt. It's about applying the keys he left behind. It's a practical test. It was designed to see if you can use these principles to navigate your own inner world. Thoth knew that within each human being exists an entire universe with its own heavens and its own hells, a universe that most people ignore, living only on the surface of themselves, never daring to delve into its depths. He was the psychopomp, the guide of souls. His role was to ensure that the soul did not get lost in the darkness after death, that it could confront the demons and illusions of the underworld and reach its destination. Similarly, this test is a guided journey through your own personal underworld, a journey to confront your fears, your limiting beliefs, and everything that keeps you trapped. Thoth is the architect, but the labyrinth is you, and he has given you the keys. The wisdom of Thoth reveals that the path to the next level is not a straight line upwards. Towards the light, it is a plunge downwards, into the darkness, into the unknown. The soul's journey, according to his teachings, takes place through a series of portals that are not in stone temples or in distant places, but hidden within one's own consciousness, waiting to be opened. And the first of these portals has just creaked open, revealing the path ahead. The inner portals and the first guardian. The journey that Thoth proposes doesn't take place on a geographical map. It unfolds in the territory of your own mind, in an inner realm that the ancient Egyptians called Duat, the underworld. Legends say that for the soul to achieve peace, it needed to cross a series of gates, or portals, within this realm. Each portal was guarded by an entity, a demon or a deity, representing a specific challenge, a test that the soul needed to overcome to prove its worth and be able to continue. These portals are not physical places, they are states of consciousness, they are psychological and energetic barriers that we create ourselves. Each gate represents an attachment, a fear, an illusion, or a limiting belief that we carry, often without even realizing it. They are the invisible chains that keep us trapped in repetitive patterns of suffering and stagnation. Crossing a portal means leaving behind a layer of the false self, a part of the identity that no longer serves us. It is an act of purification. In the modern world, these portals manifest themselves in different ways. They are not guarded by gods with animal heads, but appear as the great crises of our lives. A painful loss, the end of a relationship, a financial crisis, a health problem. These are the moments when the ground seems to disappear beneath our feet, when we are forced to stop and look inward. They are invitations, often disguised as tragedy, to begin the journey through the dark night of the soul, the womb of transformation. The darkness of the Duat is not the absence of light, but the pure potential from which everything is born. It is in the dark that seeds germinate. It is in the darkness of the unknown that true strength is forged. Each gate you pass through is an opportunity to reclaim a part of yourself that has been lost or denied. It is an invitation to become more whole, more authentic. The journey through these portals is the alchemical process of transforming the lead of our fears and traumas into the gold of wisdom and awareness. You don't need to search for these portals. If you are here, it's because the first one has already opened for you. The unease you feel, the sensation that something needs to change, is the sound of the first gate opening. You have been called to begin the journey. And as in all legends, the first guardian is already waiting for you. He doesn't carry a sword or spear. His only weapon is a simple object, but one that most people spend their entire lives avoiding looking at. This first guardian confronts you with the first and most fundamental trial of the entire test. He will not ask you questions or demand sacrifices. He will simply place you before a mirror. But it is not an ordinary mirror, one that reflects only your physical appearance. This is the mirror of truth, and what it reveals may be the most liberating or the most terrifying thing you have ever seen. The first trial is about to begin. The first guardian places you before a mirror that reflects not your face, but your soul. The first virtue demanded by Thoth, the pillar upon which all transformation is built, is radical honesty. Not the morality you learned from society, full of rules about what is right and wrong, but a brutal and relentless honesty with yourself. At this moment of the test, all the masks you wear to navigate the world begin to crack and fall. Think about the little lies you tell yourself every day, the excuses you make to avoid change, to avoid taking risks, to stay in your comfort zone. I don't have time, I'm not good enough. It's someone else's fault. The mirror of truth exposes each of these self-deceptions. It reveals the stories you invented to justify your fears and failures. Looking into this mirror is seeing, unfiltered, the architecture of your own prison. This confrontation can be deeply uncomfortable. Seeing the stark truth about how you've sabotaged yourself, about the opportunities you've missed out of fear, about the potential you've wasted through laziness, can be painful. The natural tendency is to look away, blame the mirror, deny what it shows. But the test requires you to hold the gaze, to face your own shadow, your weaknesses, your inconsistencies, without judgment and without shame, only with the silent acceptance of what is. Living a lie, even unconsciously, is like building a castle on quicksand. No matter how beautiful the facade, the structure is doomed to crumble. The truth, however harsh, is the only solid foundation upon which an authentic life can be built. The ordeal of the mirror invites you to embrace your entire story, not just the beautiful and admirable parts, but also the mistakes, the shame, the failures. All of this is part of who you are. When you stop fighting against your own truth, when you finally face yourself with complete honesty and accept what you see, something miraculous happens. An enormous weight is lifted from your shoulders. The energy you spent maintaining masks and lies is released. A new space opens up within you, a space of clarity and peace. And in that space, a deep and revealing silence begins to settle in. A silence that did not exist before, but make no mistake. This silence is not the end of the journey. It is the gateway to the next phase of the test, because it is precisely in this newfound silence, in this empty space, that the truth has opened. That something previously hidden by the noise of your own lies begins to stir. Something ancient and powerful that lay dormant in the depths of your consciousness begins to awaken, and you realize that the truth was merely preparation for an even greater challenge. The ordeal of silence and the moving shadows. After facing the truth in the mirror, a silence begins to grow within you. But the world outside doesn't stop. It remains an ocean of constant noise, cell phone notifications, alarming news, social pressure, work demands. All this external noise is merely a reflection of the noise that normally exists within our minds. the incessant flow of thoughts, worries, plans, and internal dialogues. Thoth's second trial is the test of silence. This test is not about isolating yourself on a mountain or forcibly suppressing your thoughts. Trying to fight the mind is like trying to stop the waves of the sea. It's a losing battle. The trial of silence is much more subtle. It's the art of becoming the observer. It's learning to sit on the bank of the river of your mind and simply watch the flow of thoughts pass by without jumping into the current, without identifying with them. It's the exercise of pure presence. When you practice this observation, the mind, which previously seemed like a tyrant, gradually begins to calm down. The space between one thought and another begins to increase, and it is in this space of stillness that your true voice, the voice of your heart and your intuition, begins to be heard. A wisdom that does not come from books or logic, but emerges from the depths of your being. Silence is not empty. It is full of potential, of answers, of clarity. This silence is the gateway to the deepest realms of your consciousness. It is the field where the seed of your true nature can finally germinate. Far from the noise of the weeds of ego and fear, however, as you delve deeper into this silence, you may discover that you are not alone. The absence of constant mental noise allows other things previously muffled to surface. Things you would rather not see. It is in this silence that the shadows begin to move. Feelings you've repressed for years, painful memories you've buried, aspects of yourself you've rejected. All of this begins to emerge from the basement of your psyche now that there is no longer the noise of the mind to distract you. Anger, sadness, envy, shame. They present themselves not as enemies but as parts of you that have been exiled and now ask to be seen and integrated. The quiet, which at first seemed peaceful, becomes the stage for your greatest challenge. Yet the silence reveals the monsters you kept chained in the dark. Many people give up at this point. They run back to the noise of the world, to distractions, to avoid having to deal with what has emerged from the darkness. But the test demands that you stay, that you face these shadows. Because the next ordeal, the most feared of all, is about to begin. Silence has opened the basement door of your soul, and now the shadows are unleashed. Within each of us exists this dark place where we keep everything we consider unacceptable in ourselves. The anger we were taught to repress, the fear we consider a weakness, the envy that secretly corrodes us, the shame of our past mistakes. This is our psychological shadow. And the third trial, the most feared of all, invites you to descend into this basement and find these parts of yourself. Modern spirituality often makes a big mistake. It preaches a relentless pursuit of light, positive thinking, and good vibes only. It teaches you to ignore, deny, or fight your darkness. But Thoth, the architect of this test, knew this is a trap. Denying your shadow doesn't make it disappear. On the contrary, it makes it stronger. It begins to operate in the dark, sabotaging your life in ways you can't understand, projecting your own demons onto others. True spiritual mastery lies not in becoming pure light, but in becoming whole, and to be whole, you need to embrace your darkness. The trial of the shadow doesn't ask you to fight your demons, but to dance with them. To sit with your anger and ask what it's trying to protect, to welcome your fear and understand what it's trying to warn you about. To look at your envy and discover what unfulfilled desire it's showing you. This is the true alchemical work. Alchemy wasn't about transforming metal into physical gold. It was a metaphor for the transformation of human consciousness. Lead, dense and heavy, represents our dormant consciousness, full of fears, traumas, and limiting beliefs. Gold, bright and pure, represents awakened consciousness. Transmutation happens when you have the courage to delve into your own lead, into your own darkness, and bring the light of your consciousness there. By embracing your shadow, you disarm it. What was once a frightening monster reveals itself to be a wounded part of you that simply needed attention and acceptance. Anger transforms into strength to establish healthy boundaries. Fear transforms into prudence and planning. Sadness transforms into empathy and compassion. You don't eliminate the darkness, you integrate it. And in doing so, you reclaim an immense amount of vital energy that was trapped in repression. When you accept the totality of your being, light and shadow, you become whole. Your heart, once divided and conflicted, becomes whole. You stop judging others so harshly because you recognize their shadows as a reflection of your own. You become more human, more compassionate, more real. And with a heart now whole, purified by truth and strengthened by the integration of shadows, you are finally ready for the moment that defines everything, the moment of the final verdict. The weighing of the heart, the final verdict. This is the defining moment, the climax of the test, the point of convergence toward which all previous trials have guided you. The brutal honesty of the mirror, the revealing stillness of silence, and the courageous dance with your shadows have prepared you for this instant. Now imagine yourself crossing the threshold of the great hall of two truths. The air here is different, laden with an ancient solemnity. There is no sound, only an overwhelming presence of pure consciousness. In the center of this infinite space, before the throne where Osiris, the silent judge of the underworld, observes you, rests a scale of solid gold, gleaming with its own light. The ceremony begins. Anubis, the jackal-headed guardian of the dead, approaches the scales. He is not a figure of terror, but a sober and impartial guide. With surgical precision, he places a single immaculate ostrich feather on one of the plates. This is no ordinary feather, it is the feather of Ma'at, the goddess who personifies truth, justice, and cosmic order. She is the absolute standard, the representation of universal harmony. The feather is almost weightless, a symbol of the lightness of a consciousness that lives in total alignment with truth. Now, attention turns to you. The test doesn't require you to place your physical organ on the scale. What will be weighed is your abi, the heart, which for the Egyptians was the seat of consciousness, intelligence, and memory. It is the sum total of who you are, the essence of your journey, with all your intentions, emotions, and secrets. Thoth, the divine scribe, the architect of this entire process, stands beside you, with his palette and papyrus in hand, ready to record the verdict that will define your destiny. There's no fooling the scale, it measures the vibration of your soul. So what makes a heart heavy? What would cause it to falter and fail the most important test of existence? It's not the mistakes you've made. The universe doesn't operate with a system of punishment for failure. What weighs it down is the dense energy you've chosen to carry. It's the regret that chains you to a past that cannot be changed, forcing you to relive the pain incessantly. It's the toxic guilt that whispers you are unworthy of love and forgiveness, an anchor that prevents you from moving forward. The weight comes from the resentment and bitterness you harbor, poisons you drink, hoping the other person will die. Every time you refuse to forgive, you add a stone to your heart. It also weighs heavily on you, with falsehood, the countless masks you wore to be accepted, to protect yourself, to gain an advantage, every lie you told yourself, every excuse not to evolve. Every piece of your truth you hid for fear of others' judgment. All of this accumulates, making your soul dense and heavy. Conversely, what makes a heart light, as ethereal as Maat's feather? It is the frequency of unconditional love, the capacity to love without expecting anything in return. It is genuine compassion, not only for others, but the difficult compassion for oneself, for one's own flaws and imperfections. It is gratitude, the ability to find blessings even in the hardest lessons, understanding that everything served one's growth. It is the capacity for true forgiveness, releasing the chains that bind you to others and to yourself. Above all, what makes a heart light is truth. The radical honesty you've gained by looking in the mirror, the courage to descend into your inner basement and embrace every shadow, integrating it with love. A heart that has nothing left to hide, that has become transparent to itself, possesses no density. It vibrates at a high and pure frequency. It is free. Lightness is not the absence of experience, but the wisdom extracted from it, without the weight of emotional drama. If your heart, now placed on the scales, purified by trials, proves as light as a feather, a profound silence fills the hall, the scales balance perfectly. A subtle nod of approval comes from Osiris. Thoth records the final verdict on his papyrus. Ma Keru, meaning of true voice or justified. You have proven that your soul is in harmony with the cosmic order. The doors to the next level, previously invisible, now materialize before you, shining with an inviting light. A wave of relief and peace that transcends any worldly understanding floods your being. You did it. The journey through the darkness, the confrontation with your greatest fears. It was all worth it. The feeling is of having arrived home, of having reached the pinnacle of the spiritual journey. Approval in the divine court seems to be the ultimate reward, the goal of a lifetime of searching. You feel complete, victorious, ready to rest in your achievement. But here lies the greatest secret, the final twist of this test. Passing is not destiny. The declaration of Ma Keru is not the reward. It is merely the qualification. Passing the weighing of the heart gives you permission for the most radical and transformative step of all. A step that a heavy heart could never bear. Being considered to have a true voice is the prelude to the deepest death of all. A death that is not the end, but the only possible path to the true and glorious rebirth that awaits you. Being approved in the weighing of the heart grants you access to the most terrifying and liberating step of all, symbolic death. All great spiritual traditions from all cultures speak of the need to die before dying. Osiris, the judge himself, was dismembered by his brother Set before being resurrected by Isis. Dionysus was torn apart by the Titans. Christ was crucified on the cross. This is not a physical death, but the death of the ego, the death of the limited identity you believed yourself to be. Think about everything you use to define yourself. Your name, your profession, your life story, your achievements, your failures, your political and religious beliefs, your memories. All of this forms the structure of yourself. Your ego, symbolic death, is the final detachment from this entire construct. It is the voluntary demolition of the person you thought you were. It is a conscious plunge into the abyss of the unknown, a return to the primordial void from which everything arose. This process is frightening because the ego will do everything to survive. It will scream, it will fill you with fear. It will tell you that without it you are nothing, that you will disappear. It will remind you of all your responsibilities, of all your plans. The death of the ego seems, to the mind, like total annihilation. It is detachment not only from material things, but from your own personal history. It is letting go of the need to be right, to have an identity, to be someone. But it is precisely by letting go of all that you open space for what you truly are. By dying to your limited identity, you discover your true nature. You realize that you are not the drop, but the entire ocean. You are not the story, but the consciousness that observes the story. You are a spark of the divine, a being of light and unlimited potential, who was temporarily identified with a small and fragile personality. The rebirth that follows is not a metaphor. It's a real and visceral experience. It's like opening your eyes for the first time. Colors seem more vivid, sounds clearer, a feeling of peace and unity. With all that exists fills you, the fear of death disappears because you have experienced death and survived. You realize that your essence is immortal and indestructible. You are reborn, not as the same person with new ideas, but as a new being, operating from a completely different level of consciousness. However, the journey doesn't end here, floating in a state of bliss. Rebirth is the beginning of a new life, and the true trial by fire is yet to come. Many who reach this point are lost, believing they have reached the end of the road. But the wisdom of Thoth is practical. The final test doesn't happen in the inner realms, but right here, in the everyday world, the true test begins when you return. The return to the world and the trap of the ego. After symbolic death and rebirth, you return to the world, but the world no longer seems the same. Because you are no longer the same, you carry within you a new light, a new perception. And it is here that the most subtle trap of the entire journey lies, the trap of the spiritual ego. It is the tendency to take this transformative experience and use it to build a new identity, even more sophisticated and difficult to dismantle. The identity of enlightened person. Many get lost at this point. They begin to feel superior to others who are still asleep. They may become arrogant preachers, judging those who do not share their new worldview. They use their spirituality as a badge of honor, further separating themselves from humanity, instead of uniting with it. This is the ego's last trick, appropriating the experience of awakening. To strengthen itself, it exchanges the iron prison for a golden one, but it is still a prison. The true wisdom of Thoth, however, is practical and grounded. The integration of awakening is not measured by the number of mystical experiences you have had, but by how you live your new consciousness in everyday life. It means embodying truth, compassion, and integrity in every small action. In the way you treat the cashier at the supermarket, in the patience you have in traffic, in the way you listen to a friend who is suffering. The true test is to live in the world without being of the world. It is to see the divine in all beings, especially in those who challenge you, in those who are still trapped in their own cycles of pain and ignorance. It is to be a silent presence of peace amidst chaos, without the need to convert or fix anyone. The journey does not end in a grand revelation at the mountaintop, but continues in an infinite process of refinement, learning, and above all, service. Wisdom is not something you acquire and keep to yourself. It's something that flows through you. You become a channel for this higher consciousness, allowing it to express itself in your acts of kindness, in your creativity, in your work. The goal is not to escape the world, but to transform it from within, starting with yourself. Living this wisdom is the true mark of someone who has passed the test. And by living this way, you finally understand what it means to have been chosen. You realize that the calling wasn't to elevate you above others, but to empower you to serve collective evolution in a unique way. You realize that the test was never about you, but about the whole. And it is then that you look around and recognize that you are part of a minority, a select group that had the courage to complete the journey. If you've made it to the end of this journey, if you've crossed the thresholds, faced your truth, danced with your shadows, and been reborn, then you are part of a minority, not because you are inherently better or more special than others, but because you heard the call when so many others were deaf. And, most importantly, you had the immense courage to answer, to tread a path that most fear even to consider. You are the 1%. Being in the 1% isn't a title of honor to be flaunted. It's not a trophy to put on a shelf. It's a profound responsibility. It means you've become a beacon. In a world that often seems lost in the darkness of ignorance, fear, and separation, your mere presence becomes a point of light. You don't need to preach or try to convince anyone. Your own vibration, your inner calm, your compassion, all of this affects the energy field around you. Your responsibility is to maintain this frequency. It is to be the anchor of peace when chaos reigns. It is to maintain the vibration of love and truth, even when everything around you seems to operate from fear and lies. You become a guardian of the flame, a node of stability in the network of human consciousness. Every conscious choice you make, every act of kindness, every moment of presence sends ripples that contribute to the elevation of collective consciousness. The test of Thoth, you realize now, is not a one-time test with a final result. There is no diploma at the finish line. The test is actually a permanent invitation, an invitation to continue deepening, to continue expanding, to continue refining. Awakening is not a destination, but the beginning of a new way of being, a way of living that is constantly evolving, always seeking a deeper alignment with the truth of the universe. The next level, as the title promised, is not a paradisiacal place you go to. It is a new dimension of existence that you come to inhabit here and now. It is a way of being that is in harmony with the flow of life, in selfless service to humanity, and in direct and constant communion with the divine, with the source of all creation. You no longer need to seek God in external temples because you have found Him within yourself. The journey continues, always. The test unfolds with each new day, each new interaction, each new challenge. But now you no longer walk in the darkness of ignorance. You walk as an awakened being, aware of the game and your role in it. You are a conscious creator of your reality. You are living proof that transformation is possible. You are hope. The journey continues, and you are ready for whatever comes next. If you've made it this far, you're no longer the same person who started this video. You heard the call, overcame the trials, and understood the responsibility that comes with awakening. You are part of the 1%. To mark your journey and connect with others who have also accepted the challenge, leave the phrase "I passed the test" in the comments. If this content touched you in any way and you feel called to help this channel grow and spread more messages like this, there's a way to contribute more directly. In the first pinned comment, you'll find a link to support our work. Any help you can give is very important to me and to the growth of the channel, allowing this light to reach more people. But understand, just the fact that you've made it to the end is already a huge help. If you can't contribute financially, you can still make a big difference by sharing this video with someone you believe might also be ready to hear this call. And before you go, the journey doesn't have to end here. Don't leave yet. I've prepared a special video for you as the logical next step in this journey of deepening your understanding. It will appear on your screen now. Click on it and let's meet there to continue this transformation. See you on the other side.